Standard progression of homeopathic treatment with a child that's diagnosed with autism or just has delays and no diagnosis yet. So July 10th, 5-year-old female child comes to see us, diagnosed with autism. Put her on a remedy. First update. July 19th. Scratching is reduced. Little girl used to scratch when she would not get her way, or was that whenever she was told no. Scratching has reduced. It's better. She had a bad odor from her mouth. It's significantly reduced. She used to teeth grind during the day and when she sleeps and while stimming. Significantly or slightly reduced. Putting things in her mouth. She put her fingers in her mouth, objects in her mouth. Improvement, there's a reduction in that. 4 to 5 times a day before. First follow-up, it's only 1 to 2 times a day now. Verbal stimming's the same. She repeats more now, whereas before she wasn't repeating as much. That was first follow-up. That was within 7 to 10 days. Next follow-up, July 26th, we see her aggression reduced. She's doing really well with no aggression. She's been sleeping really well. Teeth grinding is almost completely gone. I haven't noticed it at all. The verbal stimming is now transforming into words. Very minor changes, but she's starting to use a little bit words. And the words she was using, there's more clarity in them now, the parent tells me. Brushing her teeth sometimes. Sometimes she's not cooperating. Now she's starting to cooperate sometimes. Her understanding is slightly better now also. She's eating different foods now also. We see this with pickiness with these kids. After the second week, this is a second follow-up, she's eating different foods. August 3rd, this is the third follow-up. Her sleep is deeper and is getting better now. Her focus is getting good. Before she would only use 1 word to speak. Now she's using 2 words. It's been the last 4 to 5 days of this. This was the update on August 3rd. So putting more words into small sentences to describe what she wants. The scratching now in aggression is significantly reduced. I said how much? About 80% reduced now from when we started 2 to 3 weeks ago. Verbal stimming slightly reduced. About 30% reduced. August 10th, she's understanding better now. School's going good. August 21st. Tippy-toe walking still the same. Still understanding more. It's good. August 28th. We've seen some massive changes under this new remedy. We prescribed a new remedy at that point. Massive changes for a period of time. And then some of it came back a little bit, but a lot of it was significantly better. The verbal stimming significantly improved. She was so joyful and happy. She was almost like a neurotypical kid. Now, I want to explain this. Sometimes we get remedies and there's a great overshoot. You get great improvement for 2-3 days and then it settles back. Not right back to where it was, but you settle back. So this is kind of what happened here. Huge improvements for 2-3 days and then she pulled back a little bit. Still better than where she was before the dose, but improvements. More engagement now with other people. She's more joyful. September 4th, and I believe this was our final follow-up. September 4th. Her focus and engagement, it's improving. She's able to interact now. Before she was in her own world, now wants to be with them and interact with them. This is mom and dad telling me this. So now she wants to interact. You see this all the time with these kids that are in their own world. No sleep issues at all. The stimming is still there, not as much as before. I'm sorry, there was one more follow-up. September 11th was the last follow-up. She is more joyous now. So this was after another remedy since last time. She's more joyous now, is how the father described it. She can express herself in a joyous way. Before, she never smiled or laughed at all. And this final update, or the latest update, I should say, we're not done. September 11th, 2023, this last update was great. And the father was really happy when he was explaining this to me. She's joyous now. She can express herself in a more joyous way. Before, she never smiled or laughed at all. Listen to this. Never smiled or laughed at all. There's more laughing and playing with mom and dad now. Before, dad would not be able to, he said, before I would not be able to hold, touch, or cuddle her. And he says there's a bonding coming in now, where now she'll come and hug me. She's letting me hug her. She's cuddling more now. There's this affection that develops, whereas before they're almost, many of these children, they're indifferent to their parents, you know? They're indifferent to contact. They're indifferent. They're in their own world. So the dad was so happy telling me this. He can touch, cuddle her, and hug his daughter now. We see more focus. He says, I'm not sure how to explain it, but there's more focus. She just engages more. Everything is going great. The verbal stimming and tippy-toe walking is a little bit better than the last time. So she's staying flat on her feet more often as opposed to on her tippy toes. So that, you know, tippy-toe walking and stimming is the last thing that typically goes when it goes. It's a slow, gradual process as it changes. It's a secondary thing as the child starts to heal. And, you know, she's sitting on our lap now. So this cuddling thing, he says before she wouldn't even sit on mom or dad's lap, and now she's doing that. So there you go. This is like 4 or 5 follow-ups just to give you progress over the last 1 or 2 months of what changes when we treat a child with autism. It's not just the speech. It's not just the behavior. It's not just them in their own world. It's not just the sleep. It's not just their picky eating. When the medicine is right, as we shift through different medicines to get them better, you'll see the whole case flip. And that's what's slowly happening here. And this typically happens with most cases. Some of them take a little bit longer, 1 month, month and a half, 2 months. But almost always we get this type of movement, slow, gradual changes as the child heals. Pretty cool. God bless.